You use those to connect with one another, sexually and non-sexually, because Tantra really isn't, people think, oh, Tantra, sex. Like, I've seen even sex stores called the
Tantra.
yeah. And it's really a science, a spiritual science. So, yeah. I know you've been working on it.
Yeah, I've been working on stuff. It is a spiritual science. And one of the things Karen said that was so true, that literally it's about working on yourself. So when you actually have to have a partner with Tantra, really it's about you working on yourself. I know when we started doing this and we started getting some of the exercise and started doing the meditations and the practices, so much stuff came up for me. Like, I was like, wait a minute, it's supposed to be that feel-good stuff, the stuff that feels good and, and make her floor off the table and do all this other stuff. And it's just like, I'm in the corner crying, Mama, no. Why? I'm like, I didn't know that stuff was in me. So really, Tantra is literally about a self, actualization, as they say. It's about healing yourself, about getting to a certain place in your life so that I can bring my best self to her. I can't heal her if I'm broken. So
or connect with
her. If I can't connect with myself, so we had to take the medicine first. I use this story. I used to be in the Army, right? And I remember when gas, or they call people would do like gas agents or whatever other different, if they want to attack our army. So they wanted us to know what it felt like. And so what we had to do is we had to go through the gas chamber and take our mask off, right? And we took our mask off, we got to see what it felt like, and it's like, even if you're going to use this on the enemy, you need to know what it felt like, and so it's like, oh my God, like this stuff was like, so we had to take it, and not to say that Tantra is this bad thing, but literally it's a medicine. It does heal you. But sometimes, going down don't taste as good, it's like, oh my God, but we know it's good for us. That's what Tantra does. Tantra literally, it's medicine, and what it does is, like I said, it helps to heal yourself. It helps to get to those blockages that we don't even know exist. Yeah, you want to pick up?
Well, and surface things that you don't know exist, or they may be showing up in your life, but people don't tend to feel that those things are about anything that has any kind of roots to it. Well, this is just who I am, or this is just how I function, and then when you're actually starting to do tantric practices, these things come up, like your limiting beliefs come up, your belief systems come up, what you believe about yourself, what you believe about life, what what your experiences have been. And we're all products of a culture. We're all products of parents and schools and society generally. So it's like all these things become a part of who you are, even if, like, for me, I had been doing like inner work for, most of my adult life. When things would come up, I didn't just let them take root, like the things that had already taken root before I started doing that work, I had to kind of dig those things out. And then the things that, other things that came in my life, I had to deal with them in real time. And that's something that Tantra helps with. And again, for me, even doing some of the practices, like the practices are pleasure practices, but for example, we all hold issues in our tissues. We all hold things that have happened, trauma. And trauma is really anything where energetically, it's overwhelmed our nervous system and we haven't dealt with it. And so then it's kind of taken up residence in our body. So trauma is really physical, even though people feel like it's mental or emotional. It's really physical. So when you're doing these practices, it can bring up emotion that you didn't know is there. Like the first time I worked with myself on one of the pleasure practices, stuff came up for me. I was all weepy and it's what the heck, this I'm not supposed to be. And it connected with some things that then I worked through. And then the more you work through those things, then you just get to what is the pure pleasure of it. But people try to bypass all that in normal, connection. They try to bypass all that and just kind of get to the quick fix and that shot of pleasure, those endorphins, without letting, that process move forth.
Yeah, exactly. And it is a process. So when you ask how can it be used by yourself, it's really the only way to really experience Tantra is by doing it on yourself first, by taking medicine yourself, by using the tools. We know the modality practice is called authentic Tantra, and there are 4 pillars of authentic Tantra. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so the 4 pillars are meditation, movement, connection, and pleasure. So each one of those, for example, with the movement, I'll just, jump in anywhere with the movement. You're actually, some of the things that you're taught are, for example, the pelvic floor work. And, you can learn pelvic floor work from any of a number of places, but in Tantra, it's used along with sound, it's used along with breathing, it's used along with light, so that you're weaving those together so that you're actually moving energy in a very specific way. And it produces healing. Like it literally produces, I had fibroids, so I'm like using it for that. My daughter had really, bad cramps. I taught her these practices so that she could use them for that. So it's for like, practical things, not just, it's not just this sort of woo-woo kind of experience.
Right, exactly. And so that's how you use it. We use those four pillars to, like I said, on ourselves, and then you can take that and use it with your partner. So it's an amazing, amazing modality, and Tantra is, like I said, change our life. We'll get into that a little while. We'll answer a couple more questions. What else you got, sweetie?
Well, one of them was, how has Tantra changed you and your relationship?
Okay, well, we're here. All right. Again, because it changed me. And we always say that, Karen and I say, there really isn't a thing of working on a relationship. It's really working on yourself, because you bring yourself into a relationship. If you bring a healed person in a relationship and another healed person in a relationship, you have a great relationship. So if you have a sick person and a healed person, it's not going to work out too well, or 2 sick people. When I say sick,
because it's not about bringing 2 fractured people. Right. It's about bringing 2 whole people.
Exactly. So we'll come to Texas. Send us a message if you want to come and you want to sponsor us. We'll be there. But we do have a lot of online stuff you can attend in the meantime. If we're not in the area and we have retreats coming up, you can go to our website, Explore Tantra, see that stuff. But we just wanted to kind of just really, share how it's changed our life, our lives. And like I said, that was a question, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I got to work on myself, and so many things came up that was just like, wow. That cleared the path, cleared those blockages that allowed me to love her more, to connect to her more, and that is what Tantra did for us. It was, like I said, just the tools that I needed personally. I needed, like whether you're with someone or not, like you need these Tantra tools. You need Tantra to really just, create this amazing pathway to your infinite self, because we come into this world pretty much about perfect. And then we get these traumas hit us, whether it be things that happen in our childhood, maybe things people believe sometimes from past life. And so we have these traumas that form these blockages around who our relative self is, who we are in this body and our infinite self. And what happens is those blockages keep you from experiencing bliss on this planet, because you can't connect. So when we started to use these tools and started forming these pathways to our infinite self, then it's like you start to breathe, start to see who you are, you start to feel who you're supposed to be. And that's the magic of Tantra. That's the juiciness of Tantra. People like to think sometimes, this is a religion. It's not a religion. It's a modality. It's a spiritual tool. It's something you can use in your toolbox. And there's nothing wrong with having tools in your toolbox that you can use when you need it. And I used to work on cars. I always used to tell my kids this: you can do anything in the world you want if you have the right tools. And that's with anything, whether it be spiritual tools, whether it be physical tools. You have the right tools, you can do almost anything you want in the world.
And so for me, because, again, like I've been doing all these energy practices and everything for so many decades at this point, I like what drew me to it is really wanting something where I had like a full toolbox. I mean, you know, I meditated and those kinds of things and did some yoga and, you know, so on and so forth, but really like tools that I could use for myself, like really understanding how to use breath, really understanding how to use sound and light and weaving them, all those things together and using them also sexually for me, but also with my partner and how to move energy and that kind of thing. And so, you know, I wanted more than just like someone else from outside doing something that created a certain response and something that I had for myself, because that's what's always been important to me. I feel that we've been created to be self-healing and self-actualizing and all of that. And we need, you know, of course, I mean, you know, programs and other people and coaches and everything to help us along that path. But at the end of the day, it's about ourselves and really getting those tools that you need to help, you know, bring yourself to a place where you're walking in a blissful state. And I don't mean, you know, just a sexual bliss, but like bliss encompasses peace. And I mean, even that alone is something that I've been working with is, you know, like I didn't realize that I had a certain level of anxiety around certain things, you know, and so then like really learning, using these tools, coming into a place of peace no matter what was going on. You know, even like, we always feel like, well, the circumstances need to change and then I'll feel peaceful.
Right, exactly.
Like, no, you can feel peaceful in the circumstances.
Yeah, exactly. And you know that. Yeah, and that's so true. So again, Tantra helps you to, someone said, thanks for doing my work. I appreciate that acknowledgement. And that's the thing. We have to be willing to do our work. If you want to take this path, if you want to learn Tantra, I'm looking at every camera, you have to be willing to do your work. This is about you doing your work. It's about you healing. It's about you, you know, learning the tools that you need to heal. And the thing is that what's great about this modality is that you don't even have to really dig into the what's
and the whys.
Mm-hmm. You know, just know that it does heal. It does transform. And we know firsthand. I know like the stuff that I brought into the relationship, things with my mother passed away when I was, you know, well, she got sick when I was younger. And, you know, so I took care of her until, you know, she passed away. And it was like, I didn't realize I had trauma about that. Like Karen would ask me, you have any trauma, you know? And I was like, no, I'm good. I had great Christmases. You know, I would tell her that. She was like, what? What that got to do with anything? But that was my answer, you know? But the thing is that I didn't realize I had traumas. And so, you know, this stuff started to really heal and transform my life, started to heal and transform her life. So now we have a connection. So that's when the sex comes into that, because when you start to remove those blockages, you can connect on a deeper level. And that's why, especially for some men, like sex seems like it's insatiable, like you just can't get enough, or you can't, you know, again, you can't get enough. But when you start to tap into infinity, you start to tap into that infinite source, you realize that, you know, and you realize that you're responsible for your pleasure. It's like, wow, I can bring pleasure to myself without depending on someone to bring that to me. So what people do, they go out and they're looking for that fix, for that hit. But we don't have to do that. We don't have to get that hit. We don't have to get that fix, because I know at any moment, any time, I have the tools to heal myself through meditation, through movement. I can connect with myself through different tools, and I can bring pleasure. Like, I don't need anyone else, and that's an empowering place to be. So when you approach your relationship, you come from a place of power and empowerment, and you realize that, you know, your power, like I said, comes from inside, because when you're tapping again to your infinite self, that's where your power lies. You know, power comes from within and goes out. You don't take it from outside and bring it into yourself. That's not where power comes from. We were born with this power. We were born with this infinite intelligence inside of us, you know? So I can go on and on, but we'll go on to another question. Which one do you want to answer?
Let's see.
Hope y'all getting some out of stuff.
So it says, how have we incorporated Tantra into our lives and into our relationship? Which I guess we've responded to some of that, but I think this is similar to another question, which was, are there aspects of tantric sex that can be practiced within everyday sex, or is it best performed when there's plenty of time to align with each other?
Yeah.
So, like, Brian and I are real people. We've got 5 kids between us. We, jobs and businesses and bills and, the whole nine. And so what we've found is that, like, the practice is, yes, like, if you're going to do like a full tantric, sexual practice, it could take like a couple of hours.
Yeah. And
you want to give yourself, set aside time for yourself. If you've got kids, get a babysitter. If you whatever you need to take off from work for a few, early one day or something. I mean, you need to give yourself that time, but not everybody can give themselves that time, like certainly not daily and, maybe not every week. But you can weave aspects of it into your life on a daily basis. Like, and we've had to do that. Like, we've had to make it a priority, to do our, breathing exercises and meditation work and, like other tantric kinds of exercises. And even in terms of the sexual aspect of it, learning how to weave those in, like a shorter session, not like 2 hours, but, a shorter session with one another. So the answer to that question is, it's not either or.
It's both.
Exactly. Like, it's not like, okay, you can only do it if you're going to have like, a couple of hours to devote to this or nothing. Yeah. It's that there are all practices that you can weave into everyday life and your everyday sex life and all of that. Yeah,
exactly. And again, back to the toolbox, we have tools we can pull out to use when we want to. There's a 20-minute session that we can do. We pull out, we'll do that. There's a session that I can do to connect with myself. There's a tool. The tool I can pull out when we have a lot more time for each other and we want to run some more energy, So there's tools that we have, and that's what the benefit of learning Tantra is learning the tools that you can use when the time permits.
Tools, not toys.
Tools, not toys. I mean, nothing wrong with toys. You can pull them out too, just adding that. But, but pulling out tools, these Tantra tools that you can use for, different situations in your life, different time frames. If you have 10 minutes, we have a connection exercise that we teach couples, Tantra union breathing. It literally brings them, allows them to connect even before the physical sex, because you got to realize most people that are having sex still aren't connecting. Even though they're physically connecting, they're not connecting on a spiritual or energetic level. So we have a tool to help couples to connect on just an energetic level. And so what that does is that it enhances the lovemaking, enhances the sex. There are tools that for men that help with semen retention and becoming multi-orgasmic, where guys aren't attached to their ejaculation, because ejaculation and orgasm is 2 different things. We've, we're wired right now that we think it's one, but it's 2 different things. And once you can separate that, you could become a multi-orgasmic male. So that's another tool that men can pull out. There's tools where women can...
But then women benefit from that.
Oh, absolutely, they benefit from it.
Right, yeah, because, for most couples, the issue really is like the time difference. Like, it takes a woman, between 20 and 45 minutes to be fully engorged and ready, fully ready physically for penetration or penetrative sex. And for men, they can be done in, they could technically be done in 2 minutes, but,
exactly.
If they're done in 20, 25 minutes, they're done before the woman is really kind of gotten ready, is ready. Right. And so it puts men and women on the same timeline, so to speak.
Hey, Bane.
So that's, even that's helped. And like Brian said, it's very empowering, like for him as a man, knowing that there are things that he can do, and practices that he has learned now that he can do to bring to me, to bring, I mean, he was, already fabulous, but, to bring to me that deepen it and expand it and extend it, and all of those things.
Yeah, exactly. And someone's asking, Sarita, can we address running energy as a couple? What that's like. Again, it started with us with doing our own work and running our own energy and doing our own meditation and running the energy to clear blockages in ourselves. And so when we come together, it's like it's a firestorm. You know what I mean? It's something that's like, literally takes sex and your orgasms to another level. So it's running it together once you all, once you have the tools, again, the tools in that toolbox. And once you know the tools, you start running the energy together. It's just like almost like you don't even have, you just can just rest in that energy. A lot of times when it comes to making love, we're used to this, fast. We look for that stimulation. When you start running energy, it's really not the physical, but you're running energy. So the energy's moving. And you don't even have to move that fast, and you don't even have to really try to like get that sensation,
Well, and so what that really is like your energy is actually a stimulus. Like that's what's stimulating you. So the reason you learn it separately and then come together is like as a woman, like I needed to know what that felt like what that felt like to really like literally be able to bring energy into my pelvis and to bring that energy from my pelvis up to my heart and to actually have within myself have that cycle before I could even really, come together with Brian to do that. But then with the two of us, Brian was saying, typically like it's that in and out kind of thing. But the whole reason for that is to create stimulus, create stimulation. It's a stimulus to create stimulation. But when you can create it energetically, which people don't even understand, it's like literally like you are literally raising the temperature. Yeah. It's like, and so then you're feeling that.
Yeah, you're feeling that. And, we work with the elements, part of our meditation, we work with the 5 elements. And one of the elements with the fire element, which really is
in the pelvis. In
the pelvis, by our sex chakra, it's our sex chakra. Like literally when you learn to, to enhance that, like.
And to harness that energy, that fire energy.
Yeah, you can use it for yourself and I can bring it to my partner. And during my self-pleasure, I don't, it's not a masturbation or a jacking off session. It's literally about pleasure, and pleasure doesn't only reside in your genitals. It resides in every fiber of your being. So my orgasms are more of full body orgasm instead of just a genital orgasm where it's just
like
isolated. We're isolated to this one area, and I'm looking for this like it's almost like a like a quick fix. It's not that. It's full body. So when you get to harness that energy and you realize that we are amazing creatures. We were created for sex. We were created for pleasure. That's the way we were born. We're hardwired for it. Women are hardwired for it. They have an organ, which is the clitoris, which is not just that little nub. It's literally a whole structure. Its only function is to bring pleasure to the woman. That's the only function. Women are capable of having over 11 types of orgasms. We're created for pleasure. Men are created to have over 8 types of orgasms. Usually we only experience 1 or 2, but you have to know about it. You gotta, then you start to, play with that energy and you start to, experience more pleasure. So we're not operating on our nowhere near our pleasure capacity at all, and we learn to play with pleasure. What is pleasure? We usually go off a scale from 1 to 10. What is our pleasure scale? And sometimes you play with those numbers. See, orgasm is not always the goal. It's not always the goal. Pleasure is. Sometimes you want to know like where I am in that pleasure scale. But when we just seek that, then we miss a whole area of our life that we can be experiencing pleasure in. You know what I mean? It's like you just go for that nut. I just need that nut, then I'm out. That quick nut. And sometimes you need to do that, but sometimes it's just about playing with your pleasure scale.
Well, and what it does is it expands pleasure. So for men, because the goal isn't ejaculation, it's really like pleasure and having, you know, like multiple orgasms, then his pleasure is expanded.
Yeah.
So it's extended. And so like for Brian, you know, giving him the opportunity to have like pleasure that he hadn't experienced because it's like extended over, it's expanded, it's extended over a greater period of time rather than that, you know, that period between getting aroused and having an ejaculation.
Right.
Because once the man ejaculates, then, you know, party over.
Party over. So, I mean, so I'm not saying that you shouldn't want to orgasm, but you should know the full potential.
You mean ejaculate?
No, I'm saying, or because I was saying that.
That the
orgasm,
goal isn't always orgasm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to, but you want to play with that. It's just not a race to see who gets there first. You know, I mean, it's literally something that you explore and you play in. This is your tantric playground. It's what you know, where you dwell and you live. And, you know, we rush sex. We act like it's something that, and usually it is. We got to get it in between the kids, or we come over somewhere and we got to get it in and get out. And it's like, we don't create a sacred space for us to enjoy sex, to enjoy our pleasure. And that's what Tantra does, because one of the practices, like I said, it's a 20-minute practice, and you go for that time, and then you play with your pleasure scale. You know, that's what you do with that. So it's, like I said, it's really helped transform our lives. So we can go on and on about that. You want to go to another question?
Well, I just wanted to elaborate on what you were saying, that so as a couple, if you've got, you know, kids and all of that, you don't have time for, you know, you think about, okay, creating a sacred space and, you know, all of this, all you think is like time. Like, I don't have the time for this, or I don't have, you know, the physical space. You know, I've got other people in my home, you know, so on and so forth. But when you're actually when you're not just relying on your physical body to heighten your sensation and to, you know, create stimulation, you're doing it energetically as well. It's intensified more quickly. So, I mean, as odd as it sounds, like you can get to that place of feeling fulfilled together much more quickly than you can when you're just relying on the physical, when you're just relying on the physical sensation.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff.
That makes sense.
We're good on time. I don't want to go over more than an hour. We're good. So, what else you got?
Blah blah blah. I guess we responded. How did we get into Tantra?
Well, I think so. Like, we started. I think I kind of stopped, but, you know, so we were looking for places to learn Tantra, and then we started having retreats, you know, called our sacred sexuality retreats. And the retreats, we brought people in that were, you know, skilled in sacred sexuality and Tantra, and we wanted to learn more. We wanted more tools, and it was just like a hunger of ours just to enhance that part of our life, because sacred sexuality is not about just sex, not even about just being sacred. It's about bringing the two together, because our society has separated the two. Like, if you're spiritual, you can't be sexual, and that's so far.
If you're sexual, you're not really
sexual,
spiritual.
you're not really spiritual, you know? And so sacred sexuality brings the two together, which gives us our power again as sexual beings. So when we started to
sacred
beings, you know, so we started to seek out where can we get the tools, and we ran into we met Davy Ward, and her modality, authentic Tantra, was what worked for us. There's different modalities. This modality is pretty much based on a Tibetan lineage. There's Hindu lineages, and there's a Tibetan lineage. This is Tibetan. So it's a little, you know, it's just a little different, not right or wrong, but that's the path that we chose, and because it resonated with us. So you need to find, if you're seeking out Tantra, look for something that resonates with you, because it's really for your healing and your growth and your expansion. Okay, so that's how we got into it, and we sought out Dave. We wanted to do her course like a few years ago, and just wasn't the right time. And finally, we said, let's do it. We dove in and did it. We didn't know what we were getting into, you know. And like I said, it really has transformed our life and our relationship. So, and now we're, certified to teach it to people that want to learn it and know it, because we want more people to know it. We want more people to be able to take this medicine and heal their lives. We want people to be able to expand their sexual capacity and enhance their orgasms and enhance their life and enhance their finances, because a blockage anywhere
is a blockage everywhere.
Exactly. That's my statement. I coined that. A blockage anywhere is a blockage.
And we've taught a class, a workshop on the Tantra of money.
Yeah. But a blockage anywhere is a blockage everywhere. So once you remove those blockages, sexually, then everything flows. The whole system is working. You know what I mean? So, and that's how we got into Tantra. And so we became certified, and we became certified sexologists, and now we teach it. We offer workshops. We do the retreats. Go to our website. You see all we got going on. We got a lot going on, but because of our passion to teach it and for people to learn this, you know what I mean? So
as we've evolved, our retreats have evolved, and our lives. I mean, we teach it to our kids. We have kids who are now young adults. They're like the youngest is 21, almost 22. And so we've taught it to them. I taught my daughter, as I was learning it, then I learned some, and then I teach it to her. And so it's so beautiful to me that we've been able to teach it to them, because, you don't want to wait until you're, this old. And at this stage of your life to learn it. It's just such a beautiful thing to be able to teach it to your kids when they're younger, so that they know all of these things. I mean, even things down to just physical anatomy. People feel like they know what a woman's anatomy is, or even what a man's anatomy is, and grown, married, kids, and they're like, oh wow, I didn't know this. So there are things we didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're delighted to teach this to young people. We love it. Of age, of course, but because we want them to start in life knowing, first of all, as Karen said, their anatomy and how it works, how we work, how we're wired, and as someone said, Andre, to get with a Tantra, a modality that resonates with your within, something that you like, this is for me. You know what I mean? Not every modality will be for you, but find something that resonates with you. So Tantra, it's a spiritual path, a spiritual science, and
a holistic, the authentic Tantra is a holistic healing modality.
Yeah.
And for me, that's something that I've always been drawn to, as I said, incorporated into my life, but I hadn't done it, it was through reflexology and, work with meridians and all of that, but not through sex or sex organs, not really understanding that, how much tension, is held in the reproductive organs for both men and women. And even things like circumcision trauma.
Someone asked, and that was actually my next question, what books do we recommend for tantric teachings? There are a lot of books out there. There's a book that I read called Lotus and the Flower, I think it's called Flower and the Lotus. And it kind of gave me like a little, just allowed me to just see what Tantra was. But really, the way I learned was experiential. I think that's the best way to learn Tantra, is to get with a practitioner, get with a coach that can help coach you through, the different the things that may come up for you. I believe it's something that we need to, pretty much apply that community mentality that, you can question someone. That I don't think you can really learn it from a book. Again, I think, it's good to get with a coach or do we have a lot of stuff that's coming up you can potentially join in on, for women and for men, that can help you to kind of get the full picture of what Tantra really, really is. You know what I mean? And so if you have questions, you can ask and get them answered. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, so for me, my background, in terms of my career was law, and that's something like you learn, and then of course you apply it. But in some ways, like when I first started learning Tantra, I was kind of had the same approach. Like I was reading it and memorizing it and all of that, and, really knew it. And then I really recognized that this was something like you had to do. you know, and it's like you had, like Brian referred to it as taking the medicine. Like you had to, even though I was doing it in a different way, where like I was literally, you know, things were surfacing and, you know, there were connections, you know, interconnections being made and, you know, limiting beliefs falling away and so on and so forth. Like I had to do it. And one thing that's important, I think, is what Brian was alluding to is, like, for example, if I'm working with him, let's say I'm doing a lingam massage or something like that with him, then like things may come up for him, but I was trained to recognize that something has come up, what has come up, and how to deal with that, like how to approach it, how to help him breathe through it and work through it and all of that. And that's not really something that you can really read. And that's why it was so important to us. Like, you know, anyone who's taught at our retreats can tell you, we did not do a whole lot of teaching at our retreats, even though we had a lot to teach. Mm-hmm. Like I had a whole lot that I could teach, but we didn't want to teach until we really felt that we could teach with integrity, meaning that we really had been trained in what we were doing, and that if, you know, something came up, that we could help you work through it, that I can help Brian work through it, that we can, you know, teach a wife or a husband or, you know, partners or an individual how to recognize what's going on with them and how to, because, you know, if emotions come up, you have to know what to do with that. Like just having emotions come up isn't enough. Yeah. Like you have to know what to do with that.
Yeah, and one of the things that one of our colleagues in the Authentic Tantra vein, Thomas, said is, you know, we don't study Tantra, we practice it. And that is so true. It's not just a study, it's a practice. And so we had to practice this thing, you know, and once we started to practice it, that's when it's the work. We learned it because it was like we were doing it, you know. So thank you for that, Dane. I appreciate that. So, let's see, anybody have any other questions you want to ask real quick? We're about to get off pretty soon. I want to go past an hour. Any other questions you may have for us? Anybody has anything? Facebook, Instagram? I think we're done with all the questions here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're done with all of those. But nevertheless, that's how Tantra's impacted us. That's our journey through Tantra, you know, and, you know, please connect with us on Instagram, inbox us, DM us on Instagram.
And it's a lifetime journey, you know, like when Vane was saying, it's not just a study, it's something you practice. It's like, you know, anything else. Like if, you know, you're working out, like you have to continue doing it. Like you don't just work out, okay, I'm in shape, I'm done for the rest of my life. No, I mean, it's something that you maintain. So, you know, for us, like, I mean, it's literally a lifetime journey. Yeah. And so for each of us, you know, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper for us as individuals and for us as a couple.
Yeah, exactly. Someone asked what was the site. Well, the site, the company we got certified through is AuthenticTantra.com. If you want to be certified to be able to teach it, if you just want to use it for your personal use, you can go to our site, ExploreTantra.com, and we can teach you, you know, pretty much all the tools or most of the tools to, you know, to learn Tantra for yourself or personal use. But if you're interested in teaching it and becoming certified, then Authentic, right? AuthenticTantra.com? Yeah. Yeah. That's so many websites in my head. AuthenticTantra.com. Davey Ward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Ours is ExploreTantra.com.
Yeah. Tell her we sent you. But it's great. If you do want to teach and become certified, that's what we recommend. It's actually the only, trademarked Tantra modality in North America and probably the world. Is actually on the way of being accredited in the government in Canada. And see, once one government starts to, you know, have it be accredited as a healing modality, then it just, it just takes off from there. So we're proud to be a part of the Authentic Tantra family because of the integrity. Like we adhere to a strict code of ethics, everyone that practices it. So what that means is that we know we're going to, you know, we teach with integrity. And not just because we adhere to the code of ethics, but that's one of the reasons that one of the things that really attracted us to that it was really just, you have a lot to say about that, but it's really, you know, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I mean, like in our retreats, our intention has always been our retreats, anything we teach is to create a safe, sacred space. Right. And so you can't do that if people don't feel safe. And so one of the ways, you know, people feel safe is if you're operating in integrity.
That's right. So, for Tantra.com. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So as Brian was saying, so we're required to adhere to a code of ethics, but then also if you have a teacher or a guide or a healer, like you need to know that they are doing it. They're doing it themselves, because you know you can do anything with anyone, but if you're doing it yourself, then you're doing your own inner work, your own healing work. And that's what helps to maintain the integrity, is if you are learning and you're healing as an ongoing practice.
Right, exactly. So hope that answered your question. Of Instagram saying I have a minute left. I don't know why they're kicking me off, but so I guess we'll wrap it up on that note.
We're on your time limit.
Wrap me up. Like 51 seconds, 50. Anyway.
But did Vane say something?
He said that was it, pretty much. Okay. Major realizations we had with Tantra. But we are going to wrap it up. We're going to put this in a replay. We're not sure why the other platform wasn't working. I need to work that out before we do another webinar. But we'll do another one soon. And you guys can send in more questions. We'll be happy to dig in a little deeper into Tantra. And if you want to reach us, exploretantra.com. We have all our workshops. We have one for men and women coming up. We got 3 couples retreats this year. Well, 2 couples retreats, another retreat for singles and couples coming up. So
in Jamaica.
That's not Jamaica, is it?
No.
Yeah, man. There we go. So we love you guys. We'll see you guys soon. And check out the replay. For those that are seeing the replay, we appreciate you logging in, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.